To Creator Serial Podcast. This is Total Shock Fiction, home of the most shocking fiction on the planet. I'm your host, M. Panda Cole, aka Dr. Shock, the Doctor of Shocks, and this is the Evil Dead Burn review. There will be spoilers. So, Evil Dead Burn. What did I think? Is that really a question? What did I think is, fuck anybody who says this isn't one of the best Evil Dead movies ever fucking made, is what I think. This is Nirvana for an Evil Dead fan. This movie couldn't have done anything better than what it did. It could not have done anything better. Evil Dead burns like fucking hell. Because that's what it was designed to do. That's what they told us they were going to do. That's what Vanchek showed us he was going to do when they dropped a teaser of a continuous shot, no cut, of just raw mayhem and carnage. That was a straight shot from the a straight cut from the movie. They didn't edit that fucking original teaser. That was straight out of the middle of the fucking movie. I knew when that teaser dropped, this was gonna be insane, because it was shot like prestige action instead of what we would expect from horror. So I already knew off rip what to expect. The trailer confirmed it. And then walking in, I didn't have too much doubts about what we were going to get. Was I surprised? Yes. Because Evil Dead Burn doesn't give you a choice. It hijacks your nervous system and it kicks it into high gear, and it doesn't let you go until the movie's over, until after the credits are done rolling, until after the post-credit sequence. It does not stop, and then it gets in the car and it follows you home. I woke up scorched. I'm still scorched today. I see some reviews of people that are, trying to hate on the movie. Anybody who has anything less than praise for this, you're not a real horror fan. You're not an Evil Dead fan. You're probably a casual, and you're likely an NPC. My audience was all NPCs. Like, they were all NPCs. I know most of them was just shocked into silence. I heard like one dude laugh at one part, but I know they was just shocked into silence. I was laughing out of sheer excitement through some of the most horrendous gore. I mean, I was still going, ooh, ooh. Like, I was that nigga in the front row who's like, oh shit, damn, fuck. Like, I was trying not to be too loud, but there was a few times where I was like, fuck. Like, I wasn't loud about it, but I was having those kind of visceral reactions, because this is an incredible entry to the Evil Dead franchise. At this point, we have 2 trilogies and a 3-season show. You have Evil Dead, The Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, also known as Dead by Dawn, Army of Darkness. That's the Ash trilogy. That's the original Evil Dead. That's Sam Raimi's Evil Dead. You have Fede Alvarez, Evil Dead 2013 reboot, which is the first entry to what I'm calling the Deadite trilogy, which is the new trilogy consisting of Evil Dead 2013, Evil Dead Rise, and Evil Dead Burn. That's the Deadite trilogy. These movies aren't focused on Ash. They're focused on Deadites. Each movie's a different situation where people are turning into Deadites, and each movie has a Deadite killer champion. I almost said Mia Levy. Jane Levy as Mia Allen from Evil Dead 2013. You have Beth Bixler from Evil Dead Rise. I don't know the actress's name off the top of my head. Sorry about that. And you have my girl Alice in the new one. So you got Mia, Beth, and Alice are the 3 Deadite killer champions who have followed in the footsteps of Ash. And then you have Ash vs. Evil Dead did 3 seasons. And we have Kelly and Pablo, who we still haven't seen pop up in a movie. I want to see Kelly and Pablo in a fucking Evil Dead movie. We have had our first official crossover, on-screen crossover in Evil Dead between Evil Dead Rise and Evil Dead Burn. This is historic. This is the first time we've ever had a crossover on screen. There was a post-credit scene with Evil Dead 2013 with Ash, where it shows him in the shadows, half of his face is in the shadows, and he looks and he goes, groovy. Some people don't even know that scene was there. It was at the end of the credits, all the way at the end. Evil Dead Burn has a mid post scene credit sequence and a post credit sequence at the end, a final credit sequence, where Ellie Bixler comes back, who has been dubbed the maggot mommy of Evil Dead franchise. I was geeked. I was totally geeked. I walked out of the theater on cloud nine. The whole movie. So let's get into specifics. Sebastian Vanchek is a French filmmaker. This movie's very French. He essentially graffiti tagged the Evil Dead franchise. France was here. And it goes hard. The music, he has a number of French music choices in the movie that hit hard. And he did a lot of just French ass shit in it. It smash cuts at the beginning from Deadite Carnage to a neon-soaked nightclub. You know, in France, they're known for those neon-soaked nightclubs, those rave clubs. That's one of the first things I think of when you say French or you say France. And then cigarettes. And they go from the nightclub outside for a smoke to smoke some cigarettes. Alice, one of her motifs throughout the movie is that she wouldn't quit smoking, and her abusive husband, who is a member of the Price family, William Price, which is cool because they use the name Price like Vincent Price. I don't know if that was intentional. But Will, I also like the fact that Will was a douchebag. Watching the trailer, I thought Will was going to be like the quarterback jock, perfect son of the family who died and got turned to a deadite. He was a piece of shit. He was abusive. He was a fucking douche. Right? So I like that top. There's a very cool attitude in this, which I also attribute to it being very French, because there's this fuck you attitude that's so cool. And Alice really embodies this fuck you attitude of this movie. And it's almost like the movie saying fuck you. Like if you're too shocked, if it rattles you too much, because there's some people saying it's too violent, it's too extreme, it's too much gore. You're not an Evil Dead fan if you're saying that. You're not an Evil Dead fan. You're not even a real horror fan. What I love about this is Evil Dead Rise, which I call the Evil Dead for casuals. People are walking in thinking this is more Evil Dead Rise, and it's not. It's not. It's not Evil Dead Rise. It's competing with Evil Dead 2013. And while I still would have to give the crown to Evil Dead 2013, Evil Dead Burn does something very different that Evil Dead 2013 didn't do. Evil Dead 2013 definitely established the mold. It's the greatest horror movie of the 21st century. And Evil Dead was the greatest horror movie of the 20th century after Night of the Living Dead. I would put Night of the Living Dead and the Evil Dead, they're right there. So, Evil Dead Burn, it hijacks your nervous system and it exploits it. It exploits your nervous system. Halfway through, and mind you, I'm seasoned. I've seen the most fucked up movies there is. I'm not afraid of gore, none of that shit. But I'm still having the same visceral reaction of, oh shit. And it didn't stop. There was no stop. There was no, the horror stopped. They're just sitting around. No, the horror was going. The tension was going through the whole movie. So about halfway through, I started stomping my foot because I was just trying to let some tension out of my body. That's what I was doing. I was having to stomp my foot like, damn, this shit's fucking crazy. Just to try to get some of the tension that's building up, because you're just sitting there with tension just building up. It hooks you in the opening sequence and it don't let go. The opening sequence is these two dudes fishing, and it was two dudes are fishing, right? They're black, which I appreciated because we don't see that many black people in Evil Dead. So it's two young dudes, you know what I'm saying, and they're fishing, and the one dude's girlfriend's calling him, and the light-skinned dude's talking shit to him like, don't answer, bruh, like, don't answer that bitch, and he's like, hey, babe, he goes off in the woods. So then the light-skinned dude's fishing, and the fishing lines start going crazy. He pulls up a fucking deadite head out the lake. So this opening lake sequence is dope because, for one, it invokes Camp Crystal Lake. It invokes that classic Friday the 13th, that original end scene on Friday the 13th Part 1, where Alice Hardy, right? So this is a double Alice Hardy in Friday the 13th Part 1. I don't know if this was intentional, but Friday the 13th Part 1 ends with Alice Hardy in the canoe, and Jason comes up out the lake and flips the canoe over. So we get the motorboat, which is basically a canoe, but it has a motor on it. It was a small little boat. getting flipped over by the Deadite in the lake, the lady in the lake, which invokes that same thing. The name Alice is a prominent name in horror because you have Alice Hardy is the original Friday girl of Friday the 13th. You have Alice from the Resident Evil movies, and now we have Alice in Evil Dead Burn. I don't know if she's going by Alice Price or if she's going by her maiden name. I'm not sure. But this opening lake scene, it also invokes Evil Dead Rise, which opened with the scene in the lake. But what it does extremely different is the 5 fishing lines that come shooting out the water and hook the dude by his face and wrap him up like a fish and pull him into the lake. I knew off rip this shit was going to be insane. I knew off rip this is going to fucking jam. Like, this is going to be the shit. And it continued to be the shit. The lake boils up. I'm like, yep, here they go with the Evil Dead Burn shit. The fucking water boils. The other dude gets his flesh burned off. And then it smash cuts from the lady in the lake stepping out in front of Will's car to the nightclub sequence, which sets up Will's death sequence, which was a great Deadite sequence. The lady in the lake, she stole the show at that opening part with her whole introduction of the lady in the lake, is what I'm calling her. When her hand came up on the boat, I was like, oh, we going there. We going there. So then it immediately goes to the funeral. Will's funeral is a shit show. And I ran an event hall for a number of years, so I was really able to appreciate the way that shit was just going awry. Like, they're lying to them, telling them the construction workers are going to stop working outside, and then the shit's still going on while they're trying to do the funeral. They had another young black dude in there who he's the fucking dude that operates the cremation shit. He does the cremations, and he's like in there just with headphones on, rapping and fucking hitting the switches. Like, this is just another day. He's putting another body to get cremated type shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's when Edgar gets turned into a Deadite. We have Edgar gets turned into the Deadite right there. We have Will returns. Edgar gets turned into a Deadite, and this is the first innovation that Van Check did, is he changed the rules of the Deadites. Deadites have pretty much typically been mostly immediate transformation. Sometimes it's been a little bit slow burn. Like with Mia, her transformation was a little bit slower, but not really, because it's almost as soon as she transformed into a Deadite, she went and killed David's dog. So she really was already Deadite mode right away, even though she acted like she wasn't. So it's like Deadites pretty much historically, it's a very quick change. In this movie, the change takes time for them to transform, or it can happen quick. It just depends on the situation, because like Edgar, he was slow burn, to use the pun. He was slow burn to Deadite. He didn't turn Deadite until he kills Max at the dinner table. But he was already like acting all aggravated and shit all the way up to. So that really made it unpredictable how the Deadites were going to behave. Then the mom, Susan, she turned into a Deadite but stayed good. We've never seen that. So that means there's a possibility to become a Deadite and have your human soul somewhat intact. She didn't fully transform until Joseph was dead, and she felt that she no longer had anyone in her family to care for. She was a caretaker her entire life. She didn't even give a fuck about her own dreams. She told Alice she abandoned her dreams in life to take care of her family, and Alice said, that's such a shame. She said, why is it a shame? I'm taking care of my family. Susan was the person, the martyr. She was the martyr who sacrifices themselves and carries the weight of the entire family on their back. And then once Joseph was dead, she finally turned to a Deadite. And then we get the iconic, you will be dead by dawn, which Evil Dead Rise invoked as well. They also dropped the You're All Gonna Die Tonight. That got dropped in there too, which is another iconic Evil Dead line. We got a Deadite dog. Which, there's some people who are triggered by like, oh, the dog got killed. It was a quick little death for the dog. And the dog, when he got killed later as a Deadite, it was off screen. They didn't really do too much bad shit with Max. Honestly, I felt like Max was like a noble, a noble companion to the family, where even as a Deadite, he was still the loyal dog of the family. He was mostly just for jump scares. Like he jumps up on the window and he's outside and shit. Like they didn't do too much with the dog. I liked that there was a deadite dog. I thought it was cool, especially the part where Edgar whistles and he comes running up and it's like man's best friend even in death. Like that was cool. I liked that they had Max, and then Max also reflects Grandpa, which was David's dog from the 2013 one, who we didn't really get to see much with Grandpa in that movie, but in this one, Max went full Deadite. So that was cool. Also very Resident Evil, right, with the zombie dog. So that was all dope. Tia, she's got my vote for sexiest Deadeye ever. She's got my vote for sexiest Deadeye. Like, bro, Lucienne Buchanan is so incredibly gorgeous, and she does such an incredible job as a Deadite in this fucking movie. She's definitely one of the standouts in the Evil Dead franchise as Deadites. And what I also want to say is this movie overall has some of the best Deadites we've ever seen. That's what I'm going to say. This movie is like the Justice League of Deadites. Edgar's one of the best Deadites we've ever seen. Granny Deadite is one of the best Deadites we've ever seen. Tia's one of the best Deadites we've ever seen. And the Lady in the Lake is one of the best Deadites we've ever seen. Rise had Alyssa Sutherland. She was killing it as Ellie Bixler. But this movie has like 4 absolutely iconic Deadites that are like the greatest of all. And then I'd even say Max and Susan are really cool Deadites too, because you have a Deadite dog, and then Susan was able to stay good even after she became a Deadite. So that was crazy. And then also when Edgar turned Susan into a Deadite, he did it by leaning in the window. I love how that shot is framed. He leans in the window and French kisses Susan. Again, so fucking French. Like Vanchek just had to make this movie as French as possible. He literally French kisses her to turn her into a Deadite with the blood dripping. Like that was so funny. Like that was so funny to me. I was just like, how French, like how French of him to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that was really cool. I mean, it was really just unpredictable what was gonna happen. Even knowing some of the setups, there was so much of the story that they did not give away in the trailer. Modern movies, they give away everything. The new Spider-Man movie, they showed the whole movie in the trailer because it's like they have to show you because the shit is so trash or it sucks so much. Even though the new Spider-Man doesn't look that bad, it's like they have to show you the whole movie to prove you should go see it. It's like, here, look, here's the whole movie. Here's all the cool shit we're gonna do. You should go see it. And it's like, you showed me the whole thing. They don't trust themselves to not show everything, right? Like they have a few little hidden things. Like I think Daredevil's going to be in it, but it's like they mostly don't trust themselves or the audience to actually engage. Whereas with Evil Dead Burn, they were immediately confident. From the teaser of Joseph doing the kill scene with the dishwasher door, which I thought was a picture frame. I thought that shit was a picture frame this whole time. I had to change my review because I was saying it was a picture frame. It was the door off the dishwasher. From that teaser to the real teaser, and then when the trailer came out, I knew Evil Dead Burn was going to be like crazy. I can't even believe Evil Dead Burn already came and went. I remember when the teaser dropped, that was 8 months ago. It feels like it was 8 days ago. And then it's been 2 months since the trailer came out. That shit feels like 2 weeks or fucking 2 days. So, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to praise here. Evil Dead Burn very much invokes Evil Dead 2013 and the original. I think it brings the original classic horror creepy factor of the Evil Dead. A little bit of humor. Some people say it has no humor. It did have some humor. It was mainly through the grandma. They mainly used the humor through the grandma because she had dementia and she was saying shit that was very just totally not what was going on, which was funny, especially if you've had old people where you have to take care of old people, you know how they can have these senior moments. So I found humor in those scenes were funny, like where she kept saying Tia was trying to steal from her. And then like when Tia's looking through the door and she's like, did you come back to give me my money? And Tia like rolls her eyes as a Deadite and she's like, yeah, exactly. Like that was so funny. I never seen a Deadite quite nail that kind of comedic moment like that. So that was really good. So there was some humor in there, right? And really, I say just the Deadites were just such a fucking standout. The Deadites were such a fucking stand out in this movie. And there was a little bit of comedy, but it's very much the creepy factor from the Evil Dead, the brutality of Evil Dead 2013, but kicked up a notch. Because the whole movie is just, it doesn't stop. My only critique of the movie is at the end, I feel like the climax loses a little bit of steam because they're literally forcing it to end. So I would say the Evil Dead 2013 ending with Mia with her chainsaw final slaughter, to me, is superior to the end of Evil Dead Burn. I appreciate that Vanchek refused to do the chainsaw final slaughter scene because it was like he just had to do something different and subvert your expectation, which I appreciate. And also the drawback of, okay, yeah, maybe the final sequence, at least on my initial viewing, it might change when I watch it again, but my initial viewing, the final end battle against Alice and Will didn't totally, staple me to the back wall of the theater. Like when I remember seeing Evil Dead 2013 ending for the final time, I love Mia's final chainsaw slaughter, and even the Evil Dead Rise chainsaw final slaughter I love with the with when she's fighting the Marauder. But I think that's the trade-off, not drawback, but trade-off of the entire movie feeling like a chainsaw final slaughter. They had to make it end. So, of course, it feels like smothering the blazing inferno of the movie when it has to draw to a close. So that would be my only critique, and that's not really even a critique. Oh, it went so fucking hard that when it ended, I was mad. Like, that's not really a critique, right? So there's a lot of callbacks I noticed specifically to Evil Dead 2013. When Joseph wields the meat slicer, that's like how Natalie had the meat slicer she cut her arm off with. You have Max callback to Grandpa. What was the other one that was a big callback? Oh, the bathroom scene. So the bathroom scene is a triple layered callback. It's like a triple layered layered callback because the original Evil Dead 2013 bathroom scene with Eric and Olivia, that was a nod to Scotty's bathroom scene with him and Shelly. So it reminded me most of the Evil Dead 2013 scene because Alice uses the shard of the toilet against Susan, like how Eric had the toilet lid against Olivia. Right? It was a similar kill to how Joseph killed Tia. But it also mirrored the scene in Evil Dead Rise where Ellie Bixler comes out of the fucking bathtub onto the ceiling. So it was a callback to the original Evil Dead, the 2013 reboot, and Evil Dead Rise, all in one sequence. And that was actually one of the best sequences in the movie, too. So that was really dope. So innovating on the mythology and folk and lore of Evil Dead, changing the rules of the Deadites, major standout. And then another thing that Vanchek did, making it Lovecraftian. Most people don't have the media literacy to really peep what happened here. The history of the grandfather being part of the secret society where he was going around the world collecting all the artifacts, collecting information on demons and demonology and all the whole shit. For one, this was not a random Deadeye incident where people just randomly find the Necronomicon, like when Danny found it in Evil Dead Rise or when Eric finds it in Evil Dead 2013 and they just invoke it by accident. The evil was coming for their family all along, and this goes back all the way to the grandfather. I'm hoping Evil Dead Wrath is going to be the storyline of the grandfather and the Circle of the Wise Men. That's what I'm hoping they're going to do. I'm hoping they're going to do some shit like that and maybe use some of the shit Lee Cronin wanted to do where he was going to do like a prequel back in like old times, like medieval Inquisition times. I hope they do some shit like that with Wrath. But they made it Lovecraftian. I don't even know if the Necronomicon was a real Necronomicon. It looked more just like field notes and journals entries, and then it looked like pages that weren't even the original pages from the Necronomicon. Those could have just been copied. And there's multiple Necronomicons, so I don't know if the grandfather Price's journal was actually a Necronomicon. And mind you, Alice didn't invoke the evil; it was already active. So that was a major change. I think there was a Cthulhu on one of the pages. And just if you read Lovecraft, you know in Lovecraft it's cosmic horror, which is what Sam Raimi based Evil Dead after. He was studying H.P. Lovecraft in mythology in one of his college classes, and it drives you insane. And in Lovecraft, it's always some obsessed researcher who found occultism and gets consumed by it and goes insane and gets eaten by monsters. So that was kind of the storyline with the grandfather. And then Joseph was the one who inherited that. And he was like the failed writer, the failed novelist, which as a writer and a novelist, I can appreciate having anytime they have the writer in there like that. And I think that all tied very well into Lovecraft, having him be a writer. That's very Lovecraftian. And then with the grandfather, so that was something I think most people in the audience can't appreciate because most people aren't read on Lovecraft like that. But for my real bookworms and genre hounds and real literature heads, that was really fucking impeccable. I really like that aspect as far as the storyline goes and the lore and tying the Price family into it. I missed the Bruce Campbell Easter egg. There was a picture of Ash on the wall. So that's either just an Easter egg in there, you know, to show Ash in the movie, or potentially Ash knows the Price family. They haven't determined that yet. So as far as the lore, the rules on the Deadites, introducing a Deadite dog, which means there could be more Deadite animals. The Kandarian dagger. Bro, the Kandarian dagger is one of the original Evil Dead relics. It immediately kills a Deadite. You stab a Deadite with the Kandarian dagger and it kills him. So having the Deadites pursuing the dagger and then making the dagger like 2 inches long, just like a little chunk of wood with some bone on it or some shit, was genius. Like I'm expecting this big gnarly dagger and it's just little ass little, this is the card. And then having her have all the knives and she's stabbing Joseph with all the knives. And then she finally gets him with the dagger. He turns back into his normal self. So before he dies, she sees the real him, not the Deadite one. Oh, that was sad as shit. That was sad as shit because she had love for Joseph. You know what I'm saying? She had love for that nigga, and that nigga had love for Alice. So that was crazy. I mean, as far as the gore scenes, the kill scenes, I mean, Joseph's face and Tia's head was crazy. That was crazy. I just seen an interview. Vanchek said that scene where he kills Tia, the original version, no music, and it was 45 hits in silence of him screaming, doing the kill. They got an NC-17 for that. That's what he had to change. So people say that was like one of the worst scenes in the movie. It would have been worse. He said it was 45 hits in silence of just him screaming, no music. Cold. He's a madman, bro. Vanchek's a madman. He's immediately one of my new favorite directors, bro. Like, Fede Alvarez has been one of my favorite directors ever since Evil Dead 2013. My favorite director of all time is Takashi Kitano from Japan. But Vanchek is a madman, bro. And I seen another interview where he was talking about Let the Right One In, the Swedish version, the original, not the remake. He knows his shit. He knows his shit. I haven't seen the Spider movie yet, but he knows his shit, bro. And this movie went insane. It went fucking insane. Alice as a champion, she's really dope, bro. She's really dope. She wasn't passive. She wasn't like this, you know. She was really just like, she was a badass, but not like because she was trying to be badass. She just was. Like, she just had this attitude of, I'm not gonna take your shit, you know, like where Susan was trying to tell her what she needed to do. Like, you need to take over my son's business because he was your husband. It's like, she's like, no, I'm not doing that. So it's like she had really this resistance energy, which I think kind of drives her heroism against the Deadites. And mind you, Sam Raimi's rules for horror is the innocent must suffer, the guilty must be punished, and you must taste blood to become a hero. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Alice went through. That's what Beth Bixler went through. It's what Mia went through. It's what Ash went through. It's how Ash started the Deadite Killer Champion title. It's like Evil Dead has the Necronomicon. You have the Deadites. You have the Deadite Killer Champion who survives to the end. That's Evil Dead. In this movie, what it did more than anything else is it paved new fucking ground. Evil Dead Rise had a big responsibility. That's why I only praise Evil Dead Rise. I don't see it as like a step down. It was strategically doing something different, which it is the only reason we are getting 2 Evil Dead movies in less than 4 years. Because of the success of Evil Dead Rise, because they were willing to pull back on the throttle to let people in, that allowed fucking Vanchek to come in and crank the throttle up higher than it's ever been. Because, like I said, even though I still crown Evil Dead 2013 as king overall in scope, I think what Evil Dead Burn does is something even innovative beyond horror, just in cinema. Hijacking the audience's nervous system and cranking the voltage up to maximum throughout and not letting you go. Like, I want to see it again, but I also don't, because I want to hold on to that experience of seeing it for the first time only in theaters. And I mean, it paved new ground. And then we got a crossover with Ellie Bixler coming back from Evil Dead Rise. And that's the first ever recurring returning Deadite. She's now a final boss Deadite. She got totally shredded, turned into the Marauder, killed, and has now returned, totally reformed. She totally resurrected. So now we have a recurring boss Deadite. She's like on the territory of like Ruby from Ash vs. Evil Dead. So it's like going forward, we know we're getting a prequel next. I want to see the team movie. I want to see Kelly and Pablo. I want to see Mia return. I want to see Alice and Beth. Like, I want to see Mia, Alice, and Beth form a fucking Deadite killer champion, like Survivor Deadite Buster Club is what the fuck I want to see. And then bring Kelly and Pablo in for the comedy. She, like, you know what I'm saying? I want to see this hard edge Evil Dead combined with the fucking with the comedic shit with Kelly and Pablo. Because Kelly and Pablo are Evil Dead fucking icons, bro. They got ushered in by Ash. Like, that's why you got to give Kelly and Pablo their fucking props, bro. Because they got ushered in by Ash. They were with Ash. They learned how to kill Deadites from Ash, bro. And Kelly is a beast. And Pablo's fucking hilarious. And he has fucking Brujo powers. So it's like, we have to get an Evil Dead Justice League. Like, there has to be an Evil Dead Justice League with Beth, Mia, Alice, and fucking Kelly and Pablo, bro. Like, there has to be. Like, we need the full Evil Dead Deadite Killer Champion Justice League, bro. So, you know, we need that. So that's what I want to see from the franchise. But Evil Dead Burn, I mean, this was like Christmas, Halloween, your birthday, fucking everything. Every holiday could be it once for a horror fan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is one of the best movie experiences I've ever had in theaters. Like, one of my best movie theater experiences ever was seeing The Dark Knight in theaters. Like, even still to this day. Only a few movies have really hit as hard as that, like Shin Kamen Rider. But this, because Evil Dead is my favorite franchise, period, I mean, it was incredible. It was incredible. So don't believe any of the negative reviews you see. It's either casuals, NPCs, or non-horror fans, or people just trying to be edgy by saying it sucks, you know, just trying to be edgy, or it's like critics who don't even know, you know, their ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to these kind of movies, or just cinema in general. Because this was innovative just in framing, choreography, cinematography, action, beats, you know, directing, period. Like, this should be getting, like, you know, in the talks for, like, you know, this is like Academy Award winning work. They would never probably give Evil Dead Academy Award, but they fucking should, because this movie was fucking nuts. It was insane. And these rest of these horror movies they have coming out, you know, I don't even watch modern horror because it just doesn't do it. It doesn't do it for me. It's not classic genre cinema. Like, I've studied and I love the classics from the 80s, from Night of the Living Dead to Fright Night to Friday the 13th to Halloween. You know, Hellraiser. The Hellraiser game coming out looks insane. Like, that kind of shit is horror to me. This modern jump scare bullshit, that's for casuals. That's not real horror. That's the mainstreamized version of horror where they've streamlined it and made it safe to where anyone can watch it. If it doesn't challenge you, it's not real horror. Like, if it doesn't push boundaries, it's not real horror. So, Evil Dead Burn is 5 Necronomicons. And, I mean, I could go on and on and on. But that's pretty much, one thing I'll say. I didn't put this in my review, so I'll put it in the video. The final form transformation of Will was a great nod to Army of Darkness. Like, that was such a great nod to the stop motion skeletons from Army of Darkness. Even though I said, it lost a little steam with the final battle. And I think that might just be, I was so jarred from seeing it the first time. The second time, I might not feel like that. But his final form was such a great nod to Army of Darkness. Like, that was dope as shit. So across the board, it was insane. It burns like hell. You can go read my review, which is even more in depth. I talked about a few things I forgot from my review here, but if you go read my review, mrshock.substack.com, that's Mr. spelled out, MISTER shock.substack.com. This has been an Evil Dead Burn review. In college, I did a review for Ash vs. Evil Dead episode 1 when it premiered on Halloween. That was published to print. And I'm here again doing my review for Evil Dead Burn. So next time, as always, stay shocked.